Hey guys, welcome to our weekly news show here at Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb, your host, and it's been a pretty challenging week for India's startup ecosystem. I don't say that very often. Normally I'm pretty enthusiastic. I say it was an exciting week or an interesting week, but it's been a week of bad news. So strap yourselves in, we're in for a bumpy ride here, coming up right after this. All right, so first up in the news, Ashneer Grover's wife, Madhuri Jain, has been fired from BharatPe, allegedly over the misappropriation of funds. According to media reports, Madhuri Jain allegedly used company funds to pay for holiday travels and buying expensive electronic products. Now, of course, this is a lot for these two to handle, but at the same time, Ashneer Grover has filed an arbitration plea with the Singapore International Arbitration Center against the BharatPe board. He's continued to be vocal that he wasn't a part of any financial fraud, despite the fact that BharatPe is conducting an investigation against him. And according to media reports, through this plea, Ashneer is claiming that the investigation against him is invalid, as it violates the terms of his shareholder agreement. In his plea, he also added that despite numerous objections, BharatPe has kept the review and assessment process opaque. They're not giving him any opportunities to present his case or defend himself. All right, next up in the news, we actually have some exciting internal news for you guys this week from us here at Backstage with Millionaires. And I say us, I know you mainly see me on the camera, and so you might think that I am BwM, but actually we're a team of 8 people, and we've been brainstorming for a while now about how we can give back more to India's startup ecosystem. And one of the ideas that we came up with actually came from you guys, because for the last year or two, we've been seeing a lot of comments from people asking how they can invest in some of the Indian startups that we talk about on this channel. And these comments made us realize something. There aren't really a lot of great options at the moment for retail investors, people like you and me, to invest small amounts of money. I'm talking as little as 5,000 rupees into Indian startups. And when I say startups, I'm talking about startups anywhere between the seed stage to the pre-IPO stage. And so you see a lot of investors who are angel investors or HNIs or VCs making investments into these startups. But what about us? And what about small amounts of money? Why isn't that something that people are doing? And so we were wondering if maybe we could be the ones to do it. But of course, we need your feedback to know whether that's actually a good idea or not. And so in the description and pinned comment down below, you can find a Google form. So we've designed this form to be really quick to fill out because we know that many of you guys have busy schedules and you come here to watch the startup news and find out what's happening in the ecosystem, and then you're back to work. You're building your startup or you're planning out your startup. And so on average, we tested the form out. It takes about 30 seconds to fill out. It's really not a huge time commitment. But if you needed a further source of incentive here beyond just helping us out, which we would really appreciate, we're going to be handpicking 5 people who fill out this Google form to have a video conference call with us to share their ideas and brainstorm with us. So I think it goes without saying that we are very excited about this next chapter of Backstage with Millionaires, and we're so happy to have you guys along for the journey. All right, next up in the news, Lido Learning, an edtech startup that used to offer online group classes, has shut down due to lack of funds. Now, so far, there hasn't been any official public statement from the startup, but according to media reports and employee accounts, Lido Learning's founder, Sahil Seth, announced that the startup was shutting down on the 4th of February, as they didn't have enough funds to even credit the salaries of their employees. And these salaries might not even be paid until they can sell their assets in the coming months. Now, this is not a small fledgling edtech startup. Lido Learning has between 900 and 1,200 employees. And so in a supportive move, other startups in the ecosystem have opened their doors to former Lido Learning employees, encouraging them to apply if they haven't already found jobs. Now, many people were surprised by this news because Lido Learning seemed to be on a strong growth trajectory. Just 6 months back, they raised $10 million for their international expansion. And they were bringing in $20 million in ARR and were on track to do $100 million. So the obvious question is, of course, what happened? Why did Lido Learning fail? And we don't really know at this point. It's too early to say. We just don't have enough information. But it could have something to do with their international expansion. Maybe they just expanded too quickly and they didn't really test the market in these international markets as well as they should have. And they burnt through a bunch of capital rather quickly and they weren't able to secure more capital. Again, it's too early to say, but 9 out of 10 startups fail. And this is a reminder of that fact. All right, next up up in the news, these startup employee layoffs don't stop with Lido Learning because OkCredit, a digital bookkeeping solutions provider for small and medium-sized businesses, has laid off between 30 and 35% of their workforce. Now, according to media sources, OkCredit had around 140 employees before the layoff, and now that number is 80. So it's likely that they fired between 35 and 40 employees. And this development has been confirmed by OkCredit, and according to one of their spokespeople, an organization that is in the growing phase, OkCredit has decided to put in effect a change in the company's priorities. Going ahead, we will be focusing on fintech initiatives and on strengthening our growth channels alongside digital. This change in priorities also necessitated an assessment of our employee roles, and some restructuring has been deemed necessary, affecting some of our employees. Now, this news doesn't really come as a surprise. OkCredit has raised $84.2 million so far, but despite all of this funding, the startup barely managed to rake in 3.79 lakh rupees in revenue in the financial year of 2021, while spending 114.6 crore rupees in that same time period. So basically, it looks like they've decided to change directions and focus on fintech because they just can't continue to burn through money and try to compete with heavily funded startups like, for example, Katabook. All right, next up in the news, and this is a little bit of good news here, it looks like Swiggy and FirstCry are planning on going public, despite the fact that market conditions don't seem to be ideal right now, but they're planning ahead and hoping for brighter days in the future. So Swiggy in particular is looking to raise $800 million through their IPO next year in 2023. And FirstCry, which is an e-commerce platform for baby products, is busy looking for investment banks to help them with their IPO, which could be launched in 2022. Now, like I said earlier, market conditions really aren't great right now, and so some of the other startups that were planning on going public in the near future are delaying their plans. It looks like Delivery, Oyo, and Farmeezy aren't planning on going public as soon as they had initially planned, and other startups are even cutting down their valuations to play it safe. All right, moving on to some funding news now. We actually should have talked about this last week, but we didn't get a chance to because it happened on the same day that we were filming the news video last week on Thursday. So we're going to talk about it today because India has its 9th startup unicorn of 2022, conversational AI and automation startup Uniphore. And they've raised $400 million in a funding round led by New Enterprise Associates at a $2.5 billion valuation. So Uniphore began its journey at IIT Madras back in 2008. And the founders Ravi Sarogi and Umesh Sachdev actually bootstrapped their venture until 2014. Today, Uniphore's conversational AI platform offers AI-powered chatbots and voice bots, enabling conversations across more than 100 languages for their customers around the world. They're going to be using this $400 million to improve their voice platform through the use of AI, computer vision, and tonal emotion, and to expand their international business across North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. All right, next up in the funding news, and we have another unicorn to talk about here, a software platform that builds API development tools for developers, Hasura, has raised $100 million in a funding round led by Green Oaks Capital at a $1 billion valuation, making them the 10th Indian startup unicorn of 2022. So Hasura was started by Rajoshi Ghosh and Tanmay Gopal in 2017 to make the life of web developers easier by providing them with tools to make data access simple. Today, Hasura's products are being used by a mix of legacy companies and startups, including the likes of Airbus, Swiggy, Atlassian, and Walmart. They're going to be using these funds to invest in R&D, to increase their open source user base and contributor community, and to expand their go-to-market activities globally for their flagship product GraphQL. All right, next up in the funding news, health tech startup MediBuddy has raised $125 million in a funding round led by Quadria Capital and Lightrock India. So MediBuddy provides an all-in-one healthcare platform offering 24/7 consultation with doctors, online medical delivery, and at-home lab tests. So far, the startup has offered its services to more than 30 million people across the country through its network of 90,000 doctors, 7,000 hospitals, 3,000 diagnostic centers, and 2,500 pharmacies. They're going to be using these funds to invest in customer awareness and to strengthen their technology platform. All right, next up in the funding news, we're going to move into our quick funding news items segment now because I have 10 funding news items to share with you guys real quick. So first of all, property operations management startup Facilio has raised $35 million to expand their team and to roll out new product categories. Then we have education-focused fintech startup Propelld, and they too have raised $35 million to grow their loan book and to offer new products. Next, we have loyalty solutions provider for employees Xoxoday, and they've raised $30 million. After this, we have D2C healthy snacking brand Happilo, and they've raised $25 million to expand their healthy snacking product range, to acquire more brands, to expand their capacity, and to strengthen distribution infrastructure. Next, we have SaaS-based logistics management platform Shipsy, and they've raised $25 million to expand their presence across the Middle East, India, and Southeast Asia. Then we have sales engagement platform for financial institutions Vymo, and they've raised $22 million. Up next, we have defense startup NewSpace Research and Technologies, who have focused on drone technology, and they've raised $21 million. Following this, we have fleet management platform FleetX.io, and they've raised $19.4 million to improve their product and scale their business. After that, we have D2C men's clothing brand DaMensch, and they've raised $16.4 million. And then finally, we have SaaS-based inventory optimization platform for retail Increff, and they've raised $12 million to expand their product offerings and to set up offices in the United States and Europe. Alright, that is all of the startup news that I have for you guys this week. I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you learned something from it. Big thanks now to all of our Backstage with Millionaires members, our unicorns, our decacorns, and our hectacorns, and big thanks to you for watching this video through to the end. Alright, that's it from my side. I will see you guys in the next one.